It's no secret that Johannesburg is the concrete jungle of South Africa. From homes to office spaces to bridges and sidewalks. It's undeniable. This grey material is an integral part of modern living. But this time around, it was the innovative and fresh use of concrete and other raw materials that really caught our eye.
In today's episode of Finest Homes, we take a look at a modern family home that is rather out of the box. We chat to the homeowner and architect Gregory Katz and his wonderful wife Karen about what inspired this unique design.
Greg and Karen, the moment I walked in here, I felt like I was walking into an adult playground. It almost feels like there's a jungle gym waiting for me inside. And it's particularly because of the use of color and texture and shape. Talk to me about the combination of those elements.
I have a very strong affinity for texture and shape, and like to amplify things with color. And it's very important to me that every building that we do experiments and foregrounds and showcases the local materials, what we have on offer locally. And so we've had a lot of fun here. It's our own house, so we get to play a bit more than usual. We have 3 boys, and it's a big challenge to design for a young family like ourselves, because the product takes quite a hammering over its lifespan. So you need to be quite careful in your selection of materials. Everything has to be like really robust. And so the longevity of the product also matters. We want as low maintenance product as possible. And so you'll see the house is like really like raw materials, not a lot of plaster and paint. That just adds to the strength of the product.
Karen, this is both a home space and a workspace.
Yeah.
So functionality is quite important, as well as making it quite comfortable and homey. What was the main brief for your house?
The main brief to the architect was we want space for our 3 boys, both inside and outside, and also for us all as a young family to be able to grow into this house so that it would suit us for a long, long time to come. And then, as you say, to also be able to work from home. So both Greg and I have studio and office space, and that was something that I've always wanted. Can we work from home, beat the traffic, avoid petrol increases, and enjoy being at home when the kids get home from school? So those were some of the things that were important to me when we were designing our family home.
Greg's approach to design and guide to thinking out of the box is to start with the box itself. Well, that's exactly what he did for his own home. Using a square design allows him to maximize energy and space, and therefore ticks the box when it comes to minimizing the impact on the environment.
Greg, one gets a really playful sense when you walk around your home. How would you describe your kind of architectural style?
Well, it's unique. People come to me for what I do. It's not what you'll find in any architectural practice. But for me, architecture is about some pretty serious things. It's about culture, and it's about the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, where we are in the world right now and where we are in Africa. We're going through all sorts of things, climate change, we're running out of resources, and building contributes a lot to all of these issues. And so we have to design things sensitively. We have to use local materials. We shouldn't be importing things, flying things in from overseas. That's why you see a lot of local materials in my work. And yes, for all its quirkiness, it actually has a kind of serious side to it. I like concrete. I'm kind of known for my concrete work. It is a very, very strong, robust material, and it's able to hold itself up without any effort and achieve these huge spans. And what that does is it adds to the longevity of the building. Because the structure is taken care of by this column grid and this very strong concrete structure, future users of the house are able to reinterpret it and adapt it to whatever need they may need. The walls inside the house actually don't hold the house up. It's all held up by this skeletal frame. And so people could come in the future, knock down all the internal walls and reconfigure the whole house and turn it into, I don't know, a nursery school or whatever. You know, it could work for anything. And there's this concept called open buildings, and that's what this is about. It's about designing things that are future-proof.
What are the key aspects in this design that we see in this home?
Have you heard of alchemy?
I have.
So alchemy is about taking base metals or anything that is sort of like not precious and turning it into gold, turning it into something precious. And if you look around Joburg, you see a lot of brick. Like most of our buildings are made of brick. And that has to do with the fact that it's a readily available material locally. It's like cheap and people know how to work with it. We have the craftsmen for it. So the challenge for us as architects today is to find new interpretations, new ways of using traditional materials and techniques to offer something new, to offer something that's beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, and that also raises the status of those materials, because you know we tend to think of brick as just your kind of like standard, you know, stock brick, but this is a face brick actually. People ask me, is it a tile? But no, it's actually a clay face brick, locally sourced from a brickyard, but they've just used a special mold to make these bricks, and it gives us very sort of deep texture to the facade. Brick, by the way, also performs incredibly well thermally, and the aluminium windows we chose this very vibrant color, this bright yellow color. They're all double glazed, and that's for insulation. And so the house is designed very much from the standpoint of trying to keep the outer skin as a barrier to heat moving through it. So you want to keep, in the winter, you want to keep whatever heat you generate in the house inside and keep it also cool in the summer, and the house is designed very much for that.
Greg, you've definitely thought out of the box in this situation. Tell me about the thinking behind the shape of the building.
Boxes are really they're really economical forms, so you get to enclose the most amount of space with the minimum use of materials, and there's an efficiency there. And you'll see when we go inside, the efficiency in the planning of the house is also very strong. Like there's no redundant passages, the rooms all feel like the right size and the right proportions, and that all comes from this use of the square floor plan. And also, I guess it ties in with this really like modern aesthetic that people associate with this kind of shape. So we do think out the box and in the box.
And live in it too.
And live in it, yes. I'd really like to show you inside and show you what we've done inside.
Great, let's
Come
do
with
it.
me.
Don't go away. After the break, we'll explore the interior of this unique home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're exploring a modern family home that uses a variety of materials. Before the break, we chatted to the homeowner and architect Gregory Katz, who designed this unique home, along with his talented wife Karen. And now, let's take a peek inside.
Greg, the flooring is a pleasant surprise compared to the parking garage ceiling. Talk to me about the transition from the external architectural style to the interior design.
I don't believe in decoration. I really believe that the materials themselves, the materials that the house is made of, have their own innate aesthetic and beauty, and we really try and work with that and highlight that. So nothing is ever covered up. So you can see in the ceiling, all the concrete is exposed. We don't plaster over it, we don't paint it. It's called an off-shutter finish. And yes, as you correctly pointed out, it's kind of an unusual shape. It's got these coffers, and you would normally see that in a kind of parking garage setup where they need big spans. So that's a kind of feat of engineering which we embrace and we love. And then the floor, in contrast to that, is this very vibrant blue color, And yeah, it's very exuberant, and we love the sort of diagonal stripes because it really like animates the space. Nothing is kind of parallel to the walls. We don't hold by these kind of strict conventions. And it really like animates the space, and you find that the blue color is a kind of very tranquil color, so we love living with this blue floor. We've gone for primary colors a lot in this house. So there's the yellow of the window frames, and blue is an accent that we use throughout, and then of course the face brick is a shade of red. So we've got all three primaries playing off each other against the neutral hues of the natural wood and the natural concrete. It works.
Now, a little birdie told me that there's a polycarb obsession, and it belongs to you, Greg, and it's right behind us. Talk to me why you chose this instead of the kind of one-dimensional glass that one would usually go for.
Yes, so that's very inspired by this Japanese feature of Japanese architecture, which is the shoji screen, which is this rice paper translucent screen, which in Japanese architecture, traditional Japanese architecture, is used to divide spaces. And what's nice about it is that you don't just get an opaque wall. You have a surface that is backlit and light passes through it, and it has kind of depth and a different quality to both glass, which is purely transparent and you can see through it, or a solid wall. And it has this really beautiful quality. The other thing that I kind of appreciate about polycarb is that it's normally used for carport roofs. And remember we said earlier that I love this idea of alchemy, like the taking sort of basic materials that you would normally find in one application and using it in a different application that completely elevates its status. So that's sort of why I like using the polycarbonate.
I love how much sunshine is coming into this room. How did you ensure that you had enough light in your home?
So natural light is essential. We love spaces that are brightly lit, and by natural lights, don't need to have lights on during the day. And the openings on the facade are oversized, they're extra large. All these doors slide completely out of the way, and the space can almost feel like you're outdoors in here. And then the other sort of powerful strategy that we use to light this house is to have a light well in the center of the home, which is a skylight over the stairwell, and that brings a lot of natural light directly from the sky into the center of the home. So I'm going to let the client, Karen, my wife, take you through the interior decor of the home.
Perfect. Now, Karen, I know that Greg was the architectural mastermind around the exteriors, but how involved were you in the building process?
Well, there were a few things that I knew I wanted for our family home that we were building. And even though it was quite hard for me to articulate, I found Greg really tried to understand my vision, which was about both having enough open space that we could entertain, that we could have family over, but also something around privacy and warmth. Like that you didn't feel it was too much of an open, echoey, that we would get lost in the space. So the proportions of the house were quite important, and I think I tried to express that to Greg as we went along, as well as maybe the open plan kitchen. So while the family's living in the living room, or the boys are doing homework, or whatever's going on, I'm not like locked away, you know? So there were a few things that were important to me. I wanted wall space for our collection of art. I wanted a little mezzanine space that wasn't so part of the family living room, but where the boys could make a noise, make a mess, hang out. And I think those were the main elements that were important to me when we started out.
Karen, I love each of the elements that really come together and build a beautiful family space. What was your interior vision for your home?
I think you said it so beautifully. That's exactly a beautiful, warm family space. I love this island, this kitchen island, a really big slab to do the dinner. Somebody's doing homework. It can kind of fit many uses in this downstairs space. But then also our artwork, which we've collected over years. And each piece is beautiful, and each piece has got a particular story behind it. And so part of what I really wanted was wall space to display the art, that we could be surrounded by our beautiful artwork. So the things in our home are well loved, and then of course our choices are very guided by the fact that we have 3 young, very energetic boys, and so stuff has to accommodate them and be robust. Nothing's too precious, nothing's too sort of schwa or whatever that means, live in this house, and the boys need to be able to jump on a couch with dirty soccer shoes and things are not going to kind of fall apart.
So nothing too precious for the special moments.
Exactly.
Well, I have Greg's take on the floor, but it's so awesome. I have to get your insights on it. How did you decide on this very one?
I was not consulted at all about this floor. Had I been consulted, I'm not sure I would have been able to imagine what he was describing and then buy in from a drawing phase or an imaginative phase. But once I came and saw the floor being rolled out, it's, as you say, it just works. It's totally lacquer. It's something you have to see before you can really feel that it's going to work.
The flow of your space really transitions right up to the bedrooms where you have minimal walls and minimal obstructions. Talk to me how you even used the headboard as somewhat of a divider between the bathroom and the bedroom. How did you come to that conclusion?
I think the bedroom is one of the most successful spaces in our home, in that there's not a separate bathroom and there's not then a separate bedroom. The bedroom and the bathroom occupy one space. The sinks are basically in the bedroom, and you just sort of realize you don't need that much space. Greg sometimes calls it the bathroom, the sort of mixture of the bedroom and the bathroom all in one space. But it's, yeah, you don't really need dividing walls there, and I think it works.
Yeah, and talking about open spaces, having the high kind of windows really kind of contributes to creating a larger space to work in and live in.
Yeah, no, you always feel like there's a horizon. You never feel, even though it is a box, you never feel boxed in.
That's the perfect tagline for your home, Karen.
Working from home was very high on the priority list for Greg and Karen. They first built this workspace so that Greg could be on site every day to supervise the construction process. And as a talented voice artist and coach, Karen now has one of the most impressive and unique voice studios in Johannesburg.
Guys, I couldn't help but notice this very interesting structure in the garden. What was the thinking behind the design?
I was very interested in what it would be like to take a roof and put that whole roof on the ground. So what we've done here is we've taken a roof tile, it's made out of rubber, recycled rubber, and we've wrapped this whole box, including the roof, in this roofing material. And it forms this very homogeneous, continuous, seamless skin around this double-story cube, which sits in our garden and has this very interesting conversation with the house, because it also has quite an interesting texture on the outside. So this functions as my office upstairs and Karen's studio downstairs, and it's very, very well insulated. It's a way of building that's not common locally. It's used far more prevalently overseas. It's called balloon frame construction. So we take light steel elements and screw them together to make a frame like a skeleton, and then we clad it with timber and this roof shingle.
Greg says waterproof shingle, balloon, inflated, lightweight steel structure. I say we have this giant armadillo in our garden.
Built out of recycled car tires and used rubber, this cube-shaped building complements the cube shape of the main home and is the perfect location for both of their workspaces. And not to mention, skipping traffic is a major plus. Don't go away. After the break, we'll show you how you can achieve this look in your own home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're exploring a modern family home that uses a variety of materials. Up next, we'll give you a few tips and tricks on how to get this look in your own home.
Okay, so this one is really exciting. We're parking our interior rules and coloring ourselves crazy with popping prime colors and unusual but tasteful textures. Ntabi, it's time for us to play today. I cannot wait. We're talking bright colors, we're talking texture, we're talking family time. Now, we had real fun in this household because it almost felt like we were in a playground, turned into a parking lot, turned into a beautiful, warm family home. And so I'd like to start in the kitchen area because that's where we really had an integration of all the different elements combined.
Yes.
We had a bit of wood, we had a bit of cement, we had a bit of raw brick. However, if I would like to get exactly what they have, but I don't have the luxury of chopping things down and shaving off my walls, what's my alternative?
We have the solution. Obviously, starting with a brick wall is an easy one, but when you want to do a concrete finish, there's wallpaper. And if you don't have wallpaper, remember when we were growing up and our parents used to do some rag rolling technique?
Yeah.
You just take 3 colors of grey or dark grey, light grey, and a medium grey, and you mix it up and you have fun. And you can get this texture on the wall that really makes the interior a little bit more industrial to balance this type of look out.
Now, speaking of textures, I really do see quite a close relationship between this roughage and sort of the texture of leather, and there seems to be a marriage going on there.
There is.
How and why does it work?
So what we work with when we're doing interiors is the balance of nature, earth, wind, fire, water. So that's what you're picking up here. The blue that's coming through, the earthy tones, the watery elements are then helping to balance your senses in this really unusual interior space.
Yes, and speaking about the 3 different elements, it really felt like we're walking through an ocean of floor with the beautiful blue and white stripe. But I see you've brought us something quite similar, and it still works.
And it's a rug,
Yeah.
you know, because all of us obviously don't have the luxury of doing what these interiors have done. But our interpretation is quite clever because then you can do different types of rugs. You can do a plain stripe that really just helps you to bring it back home without complicating too many things. And again, in that stripe, you can also bring it in fabrics that you can then use for cushions.
Now, in this pool of blue and white, there's a beautiful kind of integration of wood still with the bits of furniture.
Absolutely. And you know what was very clever about the wood? It also complements the color of the leather. So everything ties up quite well and then balances your senses in the space.
Now, Ntabi, I must tell you, when I was walking through that space, what really stood out for me was the TV set and what surrounded it. I see that you've included a display unit for us to kind of integrate. I know that it was custom made by the family, and so if I'm looking for a look like that, I think this is a great substitute.
Because actually what these elements do is they help you build on your pieces that you have, because you're trying to reach that scale that they have there, but not necessarily with one piece. So you can still have your TV unit display on one side, or if the space allows, you can do the display on both sides.
Okay. The other kind of element that we wanted to talk about was the fact that there's a huge incorporation of really bright colors, which in some cases, you know, some people might be a bit nervous to integrate something like a yellow, you know, or even like a bright
and that
orange.
primary neon blue type of feel. What is very clever with color, obviously, in interiors is that you can use it as accessories. So what my suggestion is, especially for the dining area, is to bring in that tone, but in a more subtle feel. So bowls that you can bring in, flowers, and then a bit of pop in the kettle is a fun way to try and reinterpret that space. And of course, a fun color fridge will just bring you the primary colors that the home has used.
What was really fun is you could tell that the family had so much fun in that room.
Yes, and you could tell everybody had an opinion. You know, it was a very family designed space. That everybody had something to add into the way that the interior was.
Okay, I want to talk about the elements a little bit more. Kind of the most prolifically used was cement, and typically that can translate into quite a cold room. What do we do to warm up a room?
You balance the room. You always have to have contrasting balances to that. So if it's cement, then you look for a wood or a leather that tones it down. Then you bring in your 4th or 3rd element, which is water, which is the blue, that helps to bring it down. So the cement doesn't hold its own coldness in the space. It gets balanced now with other elements that we're adding in.
Ntabi, you know how it goes. We want to find our top 3 items to get us started with this look. But I'm going to change things up a bit. I'm going to take a guess.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the rug, the display unit, and maybe the TV unit.
And the sofa?
Come on, it's 3.
Okay, so let me lead.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a leather sofa, because we
okay.
need that element. And then display unit and the TV unit are okay because they both wood, so it doesn't matter which one you choose. And then obviously, in this house, the blue and white floor are the killer.
Course. That's a no-brainer.
We've got to have the right.
Yeah, we do.
And then from there, build as you see.
This is a family home through and through, with wide open spaces for the children to play and separate work from home spaces. The unusual yet functional Katz residence is the perfect example of modern family living in South Africa. This truly is a finest home.